Hey, right over here, let's go. Let's do some birding. Hi everybody, welcome to Wings Over Water 2021. You probably all know what happened last year, and 2020, it's a year we'll all try to forget, and maybe this year we'll be able to get rid of these and they talk to each other without wondering what we're really saying. This is the beginning of the Blaine waterfront tour that I've been doing for years for Wings Over Water. And basically what it entails is meeting here at the first rest stop and then walking to the end of the Jorgensen Pier, doing a total waterfront walk, and we'll end up right back where we started. We'll see lots of different birds, like for instance here at the tides going out, you have a potential to see shorebirds, lots of dabbling ducks. A little bit farther out you'll see diving ducks. But as we progress along the shoreline, you have different habitats for different birds, and we'll point them out and we'll identify them as we go. And the main thing is to not get your expectations up too high. We see what we see. We don't plan on seeing anything. And that way everything is new and good. So let's get our binoculars strapped on, get your cameras ready, and let's head on down the trail. Common goldeneye and more surf scoters. As the tide changes, the birds change. It's amazing how that works. When the tide's always out, this area right here can be covered by dunlin and other shorebirds. And there's a common goldeneye, there's a scop. Eagles in the trees. We got stuff all over the place. The two birds that surfaced right in front of us there, those are female greater scop. There are two of them now. And it's the time of year when the ducks of all persuasions start to find their mates and get together. And there's a female common goldeneye right there. And always with the scoters. Horn grebe just dove. It's a wonderland. And this is the fourth shelter in the series. This is fourth leg. And yet again, this is another great place to have handy on the rainy days. It just really works to come under here. Great place for lunch. And right here is the point where the water gets a lot deeper. And on the rocks out there, actually old concrete blocks, there's a male common goldeneye perched there. And it's really odd because this is a bird that spends most of his life on the water, and to see it perched on the concrete slab is something different. We always look for things that are different. And over here to the left, you have a flock, a small flock of greater scop, male and female. And we'll start to see more of them and more of the diving ducks along here. And if you look along the rocky shoreline there, it's a great place for shorebirds like black turnstones, sanderlings, and dunlin to perch primarily at high tide, because when the tide comes in and it's too high to feed on the mud flats, they find places to perch and rest and wait it out. So now we can proceed from here to the Jorgensen Pier, which is the highlight of this particular walk. So let's go that way. Right out front we have a good mix of diving birds here. There are 3 or 4 common goldeneye and a male and female bufflehead toward the rear. And as I said, this is deeper water diving ducks. And the common goldeneye and the Barrow's goldeneye are 2 of the more common ducks that we'll see, and probably out at the end of the pier when we get there we'll have a good look. And hopefully long-tailed ducks. There's always that potential this time of year, right up until April. The end of April, actually. So let's go, Debbie. We're approaching the end of Marine Drive, and we're going out to the Jorgensen Pier, which is named after Jim Jorgensen, who's really and truly responsible for Marine Park and all the great things that have happened to this part of Blaine Harbor. And hats off to Jim. People used to be able to drive all the way out to the pier and crab and do all kinds of things, and it turned into... And here we are on the Jorgensen Pier, as I mentioned before. It's named after Jim Jorgensen, the guy that put this all together for all of us. And as we walk out on the pier, which is very popular for crabbing in season, this gives us a huge view of Semiahmoo Bay, the channel between Semiahmoo and the big expanse of Drayton Harbor, which is one of the #1 wintering places for waterfowl in Puget Sound. This is actually Semiahmoo Bay and Drayton Harbor, actually what made the Great Washington State Birding Trail come alive, because of the potential for birds. We have long-tailed ducks here, which are Arctic ducks that come down every winter, and you can hear them oftentimes before you see them. Common loons, red-throated loons, and Pacific loons will mass between Crescent Beach and Semiahmoo, numbering as many as 2,000 in the middle of spring before they start to migrate and head north. And we'll walk around the broad pier, and we'll walk over this way and have a look at the cormorant nesting colony on the harbor breakwater. This is the latest addition to the waterfront tour, and it's been an immense help for my field trips along here, because we don't have to go through the muddy muck in the field or option for the highway, the blacktop. Here's the brand new trail, and you'll see it's wheelchair accessible. It's definitely user friendly, and this entire expanse of the marina is always open just the way you see it. And during the springtime, there can be as many as 50 or 55 whimbrels, which are large shorebirds that feed and forage on the mud flats here. And this trail leads us right to the boat launch area, which is oftentimes another rich spot, and our last stop along the trail before we head back to the parking. And right out resting on the water is a male common goldeneye. And this is typical of this area right here, to have a lot of birds that feel comfortable enough. There's a buffer between the trail and the waterfront, the docks where people walk, so they can kind of split the difference and they feel comfortable in there, not threatened at all. And we continue the march. And here's the male common goldeneye that we saw earlier, a little bit closer, a little bit better light. Love the reflections of the masts in the background. And just over to the left, really close, is a common crow, an American crow actually. He's posing for us. And when you're counting birds, every bird counts as 1 point. So a crow is worth as much as an eagle, the way I see it. Look at this sky, would you? I don't know. What do we do to deserve this? Yeah, we'll walk down the path and we'll take a left and follow it. And the boat launch is just to the right of the building there. Have a pair of horned grebes right on the corner here. They've done a great job with this part of the park. There's one of the grebes, and they're actively fishing right now, so they're up and they're down and all over the place. This is the last leg of the field trip before we head back to the parking area, and this is one of my favorite spots. This is the public boat launch area, and oftentimes the dock out here will be covered with dunlin. I've photographed as many as 10,000 dunlin right in this tight area right here, and generally they come in similar to the dabbling ducks like the pintails, and they will just flood the backside where the high tide affords them enough space to cram in about 5,000 or 10,000 birds. They'll be out on the rocks of the breakwater, and that's why there are black oyster catchers nesting here, the large cormorant colony, any number of birds. It's got a little storm wash up here. and there's a beautiful flock of northern pintails right over here. I recommend taking this field trip anytime. It's just a good place to be. Pull out your little pocket camera, take a few stills, add to the scrapbook. And here we come to the end of our field trip, right where we started. And all your cars are parked right out here where you left them. It's pretty convenient. Back to point A. And we're witnessing a beautiful sunset, as you notice. Absolutely stunning. This is the time of day that you really reflect on what you've seen, what you didn't see. And it's just a perfect way to end a good field trip, looking out over the poplars. And I want to thank everybody for coming. It was just one of the best field trips ever. The weather was fantastic. The birds will only get better, so come back next time. We'll have it again. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Fire away.
All right. So if anybody has any questions for Joe and his bird walks or what he sees on his walks, go ahead and put them in the Q&A and we'll take a stab at them.
If I can read them, I can see, yes.
Okay.
What day was this filmed, Dan?
It was a very cold day.
Well, it started off, if you recall, it was very windy and we postponed till afternoon when it got absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
Where are the walks now and how do you sign up? Well, don't have anything planned right now. I used to do walks for the Washington Ornithological Society and North Cascades Audubon and Wings Over Water, but we haven't really planned anything. And with COVID rampant still to a great extent, we don't have anything planned, but keep your eyes and ears open and who knows. I do them myself, but I do them by myself.
Can I just encourage people to
Sure.
Try it on their own? I think we've got some bird lists. There's lots of information through eBird that might give you an opportunity because of COVID and, you know, the situation, that we're encouraging people to get out there on their own. And we do have some information, especially try eBird, and it'll give you a good idea of what birds are there now or have been there. So that would be my recommendation. And you also got a good idea from Joe too, kind of some of the locations of that particular walk.
Well, with that in mind, if you just cross the railroad tracks at Blaine waterfront, park in the very ample parking space on the right, and start walking from there and follow the water. The trail follows the water all the way to the Jorgensen Pier and back around the same way we came in the video.
Joe,
And do the same thing at Semiahmoo. Park on either end of the spit and walk. Very user-friendly, wheelchair accessible. It's great.
Joe, I've got some questions that are coming in here on the Q&A. So if you I'm going to take the first one. They're asking, what are good times of the year to take the walk?
Well, you know, depending on the weather, of course. I like the season from fall into spring because that's when more birds are going to be here. These are the wintering birds, and you just dress for the weather and know that the birds are out there without any protective gear. So you just get out here and you just walk. And like I say, both of these places are very user-friendly when it comes to walking and not having to drive around all day looking for a place. But
Yes.
winter, this whole area was made the maps because of the winter birds that are here. So late October into late April, even into May, you can start to see, in May, you can start to see loons, all the grebes, redneck grebes, horned grebes, even near grebe. Everybody's getting into breeding plumage in late March and in through April and into May. So this is it's a broad range of times that you can go. But, you know, check the weather, check the tide, just come out here, pack a lunch or eat locally. It's all good. There's nothing bad here. If there were, I'd tell you. Just watch the trains.
Yes. All right. Does anybody else have some questions for Joe about his walk? We also want to let people know that if you want to rewatch this walk, you can visit our website and view the live streaming page. These will be on that page for a couple of days. Plus, we have a YouTube page set up, and you can find those links on our website as well. And you'll be able to watch these walks and our other pre-recorded presentations, especially Joe, and when he talked about the nests, they will be available to rewatch as well.
Beautiful.
And you can see these birds if you come to my office.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier than driving to Blaine. Got to have props, you know.
Here's another question for you, Joe.
Okay.
What should we consider with tides? High tide or low tides? Which is the best?
Well, the thing about it is you can, if you come here and you spend a lot of time, you can play both incoming and outgoing. The channel between the Jorgensen Pier and Semiahmoo is always going to be a deep water channel. So there are always going to be birds there. If the tide is out, check the mud flats for shorebirds. You just have to play it by ear. And high tide is good for some, low tide is good for others. That's why I come here, and Debbie knows I spend the whole damn day.
Oh, we've got a couple more questions coming in. We have a viewer asking, where is the best location to see oyster catchers?
The best location for oyster catchers is along the Blaine Harbor side of Semiahmoo Spit. All along the spit from the area down by the museum all the way up to the marina at the Semiahmoo Marina along the rocky shoreline. I always see them there.
Okay. This question I think might be for the videographer. They were asking where the large group of eagles on that tree that was in the video was recorded. Was that at Marine Park, or was that somewhere?
No, I use a little poetic license when I put that in.
Okay.
I don't know if it's poetic license, but you know, those are my photos. And if you want to know where it was taken, I can tell you where it was taken.
Okay.
It was taken west of Edison on the Bayview Edison Road, just across, when you cross the bridge over the Samish River, look to the right, and there's a set of trees there with a huge eagle's nest. And earlier this month, I counted 32 eagles in those very trees.
Well, we
And
do
there
have
are-
some, oh, excuse
Yeah,
me, Joe.
lots of eagles around too. So
Yeah, we do have some resident eagles that spend a lot of time at Blaine Marine Park. They like to perch on top of the, I don't know if it's a cell tower or, and down by the Jorgensen Pier, I've noticed them a lot on the light post. So if you're looking to see some eagles down there, there's a good chance you will.
Debbie might have seen the photograph that I took several years ago. You know the totem
Yes.
down on the right side of the road as you get close to the water treatment or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
I have a photograph that I took of a bald eagle perched on the very top of the totem.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I should have included that. I have,
Yeah.
a few slides that I could have put in and we could still be talking about it.
Well, we'll do it again.
Okay.
Okay, here's another question. How
Okay.
many hours a week do you bird?
Well, it depends who you ask. I probably actually out in the field or looking at photographs, working with photographs. I don't know. I spend probably 6 hours a day. I'd like to spend more. And a lot of it depends on whether or not I drive to Blaine and Semiahmoo and spend the day up there, or go down south to the Samish Flats and spend the day down there. It can be 1 hour, 2 hours. It can be 8 or 10. You have to check with me on every day to see how much time I spend there. Debbie knows.
Okay, let's see. We think we've answered all those questions for now.
You're kidding.
No.
I had a whole bunch of answers ready.
Oh my goodness. Well, I love hearing how long you've been doing this, Joe. And one of the things that I also love is the fact that you were responsible for having Blaine on the Great Washington State Birding Trail. Can
Oh, yeah.
you tell a little bit of that background?
Well, the background for the Great Washington State Birding Trail actually started at a state Audubon conference that I attended at, what's the name? In Leavenworth. What's the name of the resort there? Sleeping
That's
Lady.
okay.
No, Sleeping Lady. We had a conference at the Sleeping Lady, and on one day when things were kind of open for ideas, suggestions, I had recently gotten back from a trip to Louisiana and along the Texas coast, and I started telling everybody about the Great Texas Coastal Birding Trail. And I said, there's no reason why we can't do something like that. And that was a seed that was planted for the Great Washington State Birding Trail. And I coordinated with the state Audubon coordinator for the birding trail. She did the whole loop, Christy Norman. She and I coordinated and did the whole Whatcom County loop in one day to add it to the Great Washington State Birding Trail. Other people said, oh, that's getting too far off the beaten path. We don't want to go there. And I showed them the numbers of the birds that were here in the winter. I said, this has to be on the Great Washington State Birding Trail. So that's what brought it up here. And I kind of won them over when I told them that most of the places that you're going to see on the rest of the trail are covered in 20 feet of snow in the wintertime. So come to Blaine and Semiahmoo and see birds actually swimming in ice-free water. I sold it.
We much appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, it's been my pleasure.
I do have another couple of questions. We've got just a couple of minutes left.
Okay.
Someone's said, great photos. What kind of camera gear do you use?
Nikon.
Okay.
I don't know if it's necessary to get into specifics, but I've always been a Nikon person from way back to the film days, if you can remember that far. But Nikon has been good by me, and the controls always feel familiar no matter what camera I use. And I have probably about 6 or 8 cameras. So Nikon. That's the answer.
That's the answer. Okay, that's simple. All right, here's another question. It's kind of an interesting one, but it goes back to your nesting presentation.
Okay.
And they wanted to ask a question about the fecal sacs. Do they create a sac with each exit activity?
Each each small bird has their own sack, you know. They drop a load, so to speak, into this encased fecal sack, and the adults pick them out. They hold together really well. I'm surprised, but the adults pick them up with their bills and they take them out someplace away from the nest, so there are no odors to attract predators. And one nesting per fecal sack. Here, let me put some in there.
Okay, let's take one more question before we have to probably close out our great Blaine Harbor birding walk. And so we've got another presentation coming up we need to get ready for. But here's one last question for you, Joe.
Yeah.
Are there any efforts to try to keep the rest of the spit as it is?
Well, I've been trying for years, and to no avail. I think the saving grace for Semiahmoo spit is the fact that Whatcom County has a park that covers most of the upper part of the spit, and no one's ever going to develop on that. I've spoken to realtors before, one in particular who doesn't like what they're doing there. And I actually was on a radio talk show program a few years ago with someone who's the driving force behind the realtors, and we won't mention his name. But it's sad to me. I've been going to Semiahmoo spit over 40 years, and I've seen the development. And it's saddened me to see how overdeveloped it's become. And every little parcel of land, let's build something there. I don't like it. But the birds seem to be resilient enough to work around it, so I guess I should too. Mm-hmm. As long as they don't keep fouling the water and don't expand the marina anymore.
I think it's important to note that Semiahmoo, the trail, is public all the way around the spit, including Semiahmoo, the hotel itself, the resort. You can actually, that is all public access. So it's important to note that there is a trail all the way around the spit. In fact, the development that is there, we're required to provide some open space for parkland as well as the trail. And there's some signage there. It was also mitigated. Maybe I'm saying that wrong. Related to that development.
Trade-offs.
Trade-offs, yes, for that development as well. So we still have the spit with access. Yes.
You know, I think one of the main things about the spit is there are a couple of times a year when the black-bellied plovers come in, specifically on the base side of the spit. And between 600 and 800 black-bellied plovers stop by on their way north and again on their way south during migration. And I have tried to get the resort to post signs. I want to get someone to post signs telling people to stay off the beach when the shorebirds are there, because we have had not only black-bellied plovers, but we've had 3 species of godwits. We've had willets, we've had whimbrels that are always on that outside of the spit, the base side. And I'd like to see more signs. I'd like to see notices posted inside the resort telling guests, don't walk your dog. I have worn out my lungs yelling at people, but I still have a pretty good voice. But stay off the beach when the shorebirds are there, because they travel long distances and they need to conserve their energy.
That's a great suggestion. Well, Joe, looks like we're going to have to wrap up. So, Deb, would you like to have some last words?
Yes, I just want to invite everyone to come back for themselves and either meet Joe or get out there and check out Blaine Harbor, Semiahmoo Spit. And we just are excited about going live again next year. This has been truly an experience doing this virtual, and I think I've actually really enjoyed it. It's been fun for me to get to be at all the presentations. I haven't got to do that before, so this has been really fun.
If you do go up to Blaine or Semiahmoo, you'll be able to put me on your checklist, because I'm usually there.
Absolutely. You're bound to meet Joe.
Can I say one more thing? Cindy has instructions when the time comes to sprinkle some of my ashes off Tongue Point. So
Absolutely.
Semiahmoo has been a big part of my life, so.
Absolutely. I'm writing that down, Joe.
Hey, here's a thank you from Marianne W. You're welcome. I'm here.